Chad Mendes has the opportunity to become the UFC featherweight champion.
Heading into that fight, you know, the first one with Aldo back at UFC 142, obviously that was the biggest fight of my life. You know, I'd only had 2 fights in the UFC, so I was pretty much a baby in the sport still. Honestly, back then, my game was probably, I'd say 90–95% wrestling. Our game plan going into that was just wear him out. We know that, you know, he slows down in the later rounds. Winning that first round would have been huge for us.
Got to try to take this fight to the ground. Don't think Mendes wants to go leg kick for leg kick with Aldo.
I was pushing the pace. I was more aggressive as far as striking. You know, we all know his style. He's kind of lackadaisical in the first round.
Aldo feels he has the advantage both standing and on the ground.
Finally actually got him to the ground, even though the cage grabs were there. So I felt like overall, it was a very close first round, or I was even ahead. But I do remember that those last few seconds kind of letting go a little bit, and obviously that's the big mistake that I made. Cannot be doing that ever again.
Jose Aldo knocks out Chad Mendes!
Overall, it was a huge learning experience. That night, I left Brazil, got back to the States. Every fight I started training for since then was basically for Aldo. You know, I knew that I was going to be back in there soon, facing him.
Cody McKenzie fighting at 145 here tonight for the first time.
Cody's actually a guy that came and trained with us for a little bit. I know Cody. Cody's a cool guy. He actually called the UFC and was like, I want to drop down to featherweight, give me a tough guy. And they're like, the only guy that's available is Mendes. And he's like, well, sign me up, send me the contract. And they called me, do you want to fight McKenzie? And I said, all right, you know, if that's what it is, I just need a fight. You know, it's been forever. A lot of that training camp, I was in Vegas. We were still doing the Tough Show. Actually got to train with a lot of cool stand-up guys, Mark Delagrati. We had Sam Stout come in, so we got to see a bunch of different techniques as far as the stand-up goes. Almost made me realize, like, I need to start letting my hands go. I feel like I have the power to knock people out. I just need to figure out how to let him go and land accurately.
Chad Mendes, he's made huge leaps and bounds since he's made the switch from being a wrestler to MMA fighter, and I guarantee you we're going to see even more of that now.
It basically all just kind of started coming together as far as that fight and my stand-up went. First round, hit him with a straight right, straight in the liver, dropped him to the ground and finished him with a little bit of ground and pound.
Caught the kick, straight right hand, and Chad Mendes wins.
That was my first knockout in the UFC, and I was like, man, this is something I could get used to. Actually, it's way easier going out here and knocking someone out in the first round than having to grind out and push the pace the entire fight. Overall, I was pretty pleased with my performance as far as that fight goes, and you know, we were on to the next one, working on the next knockout. My second fight after Aldo, we were actually supposed to fight Hakron Diaz, who is a training partner, teammate of Aldo. The day I was actually supposed to leave for Australia, I get a call as I'm headed into the gym saying, Hakron's out, we don't have an opponent. And so I was, you know, throwing my hands in the air like, you know, what the hell am I supposed to do? Luckily, they offered, you know, Yeltsin a fight. He wasn't in the UFC yet, and they're like, look, we can get you in the UFC, but you gotta fight Mendes. And, you know, he agreed to it, got in there.
The moment has finally arrived for Yeltsin Meza, 31 years old. He comes in having won 6 of 7.
It's always a huge risk going in there fighting someone, especially last minute like that you have no idea about. That whole week, we're basically watching any YouTube video we could on the guy that was online. He liked to jab with high chin up. You know, we're looking to slip over the top of him, hit him with some kind of either right hand or even a hook. Going out there, it was exactly like we had hoped.
Meza needs to be careful. He's keeping that chin a little too high there.
Caught him with the overhand right and put him to sleep, so everything worked fine.
That's at 145 pounds he's knocking guys out at.
Felt like for me to get back in that title spot, I needed to keep destroying whoever they put in front of me. You know, that was the goal, and that's basically what we did.
Darren Elkins, 5-0 at 145, and happy to step up to fight Chad Mendes here in San Jose.
The Darren Elkins fight was a big fight for me at that point in my career. You know, he was on a tear. You know, just running through everybody. He's beating some tough guys.
When you look at the strengths of Darren Elkins, his greatest attribute may very well be his durability.
We knew he was a grinder, which, you know, sometimes that can be a tough fight. I kind of felt him out the first couple seconds, just felt his speed and kind of what he liked to throw, and basically just went in for the kill.
Darren's hurt. Good right hand by Mendes.
Hit him pretty much on the temple the first double right I threw.
He's wobbled a bit here, Joe.
I knew, you know, this guy could take a punch, so don't, you know, go in there and use all your energy throwing every single punch you can right now. So I kind of came in, felt it out, and waited for him to throw that jab and just slipped it, put him out with that right hand again.
That kid is a beast.
I think it started really opening people's eyes when I started knocking people out. Now he has the wrestling and the stand-up and the power.
Man, outstanding stuff.
I think the Clay Guida fight was definitely the game changer for me.
At 145, we should see a completely different Clay Guida. A physically dominant, incredibly strong Clay Guida.
Guida has been in the sport for a long, long time. He's fought, some of the best guys at the weight class above me at 55s. And him coming down to featherweight, never been knocked out before, even going with guys that fight probably 20 pounds more than I am.
Chad Mendes is incredibly fast, and you're seeing now him having the confidence to put those combinations together in the octagon with spectacular results.
The first few rounds is actually me just trying to find a rhythm or some kind of method to the madness.
Chad looking to throw a few feints in here, try to measure the frenetic, wild footwork of Guida.
Coming out in the third round, finally kind of figured it out, and once again landed that big overhand. I knew once I had my hands on him, he wasn't going to be bouncing around. I basically threw my punches as hard as I could, just hoping for that knockout, and they, landed where they needed to land, and he went down. And that was 4 knockouts in a row for me now. Doing it against someone that had never been knocked out, and having the following that he has, that is what really opened up people's eyes. All right, Mendes Aldo 2 needs to happen.
What you're dealing with right now is a hungry, motivated, focused, and very well-trained Nik Lentz.
Nik Lentz is a tough dude. I knew that, this was going to be a tough fight. That I think this guy would probably beat most of the guys in the top 10. But I went out there, I feel like I beat him in every aspect of the sport. The stand-up, the grappling, the wrestling.
He's hurt bad.
That's 5 wins in a row. So I was hoping that the title shot would be next. I actually didn't hear about it probably for another 2 or 3 months. And then we started getting the call, all right, this is what's gonna happen. Still not official, don't talk about it, but this is what's gonna happen. We didn't have a date, we didn't have a location, but they were telling me Aldo was next. So it was something that we were really pumped about. There's a few things why I think this fight's gonna be different from the first one. The first fight, I had 2 fights in the UFC. I'm basically still trying to figure myself out as a fighter. The power, the accuracy, everything has gone up since. I feel like I'm just as athletic as he is, but now I have not only the wrestling pedigree above him, I have the strength and I have the ability to knock him out.
We're seeing a guy who's been to the top of the mountain, was not successful, but came back with a new understanding of what the highest levels of the game requires.
This is going to be something that's going to be a little bit more tough for Aldo to deal with. I've actually heard in a few interviews that he's saying, oh, I've knocked him out once, I'm going to go out there and knock him out again. Well, if that's his mindset and his mentality, he's going to be in for a rude awakening. Trust me, I know how to use these things.
I'm coming for you, Aldo.
I've been training for this one moment my entire life, and it's finally here. So I'm pushing all the chips in on this one, man. This is it.
He had a shot at the title and is bound and determined to get back in there and take what he feels is his destiny, the UFC featherweight title.